Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where you see every shortcut I take. Speaking of shortcuts, I have found out that if I don't have any electronics hooked up to the AW4, I will have reverse gear and first gear. So what I'm going to try to do today is tidy up just a couple of things by taking shortcuts and seeing if I can't drive my Kubota powered diesel Wrangler through my yard. So, time lapse.
First, I cleaned up the wiring that went to the fuel shutoff solenoid. I zip tied the wiring harness to the bracket that holds the TV cable. Next, I turned my attention to the dipstick tube on the AW4 automatic. I needed to cut off the mounting bracket that was currently on the tube so I could relocate it so I could securely mount the dipstick to the engine. I quickly realized the ideal place to mount it would be one of the mounting bolts going through the transmission into my Kubota V2403 engine adapter. To do this, I first had to enlarge the hole on the bracket. I tried doing it by hand, but it slipped out and I ended up having to put it in a vise, which I should have done in the first place. With the hole in the bracket enlarged, I then re-secured the bracket through the bolt into the adapter, and then I was able to figure out the ideal location to weld it to the dipstick tube. I didn't want to burn through the tube, so I put my welder on the lowest setting and just put a couple of quick tack welds on the dipstick tube before reinstalling it onto the AW4. Next, I removed the transfer case shifter cable out of the firewall and then hooked up the EGR probe to the exhaust. Moving back to the dipstick, I then decided to check the transmission fluid level and I topped it off. Next, I secured several items in the engine bay with zip ties to make sure they didn't hit the front drive shaft or the exhaust. The ground cable that connects to the battery actually has two connection points. I'd already connected one to the exhaust manifold, but I connected the second one to the engine mount on the frame. Next, I turned my attention to the brakes. The Kubota V2403 doesn't produce any vacuum, so I have to use an electronic vacuum pump so I will have power brakes. I'm actually going to mount the pump underneath the booster in my right-hand drive TJ on the tray that would normally mount the battery in a left-hand drive TJ. Since this tray never had anything mounted to it, I had to go through all my spare nuts and bolts to find a way of mounting the electronic vacuum pump to the tray. With the pump mounted, I then hooked on some electrical connectors so I could connect the pump to a 12-volt source and a ground. With the connectors on the electric vacuum pump, I reinstalled the tray underneath the brake booster. At first, I tried hooking up the ground wire to that bolt I'm securing right there, but it turned out it wasn't getting a good ground connection, so I'm going to have to move it on later in this video. To supply the electric vacuum pump with power, I first disconnect the battery, and then I hook the pump to the power side of the starter. Next, I got some 3/8" hose and connected it between the pump and the brake booster. While I wasn't able to show this with time-lapse, I never heard the pump come on even though there was no vacuum, so after talking to KubotaSwappers on the phone, I first checked my electrical connections and I wasn't getting a good ground, which was preventing the pump from seeing a full 12 volts, so I moved the ground cable to that AW4 mounting bracket on the engine motor mount plate. Next, I found out from KubotaSwappers that I needed to tee the line and hook it to a switch on the pump which detects how much vacuum is in the system. With the brakes taken care of, it was time to move to the underside of the Wrangler. First, I tightened all the drain plugs on my EcoBox doubler. With all the drain plugs tightened, I then hooked a hose to the air breather on top of the doubler so I could put about 500 milliliters of fluid in the doubler. Next, I turned my attention to the steering wheel and getting the wiring harness out of the floorboard so I'd have clear access to the pedals. After re-securing the steering wheel to the steering column, I then needed to put fluid into my MP231 transfer case. I started out by first tightening the drain plug on the MP231 transfer case before adding fluid to the case. kept pouring in fluid until it started to pour out of the fill port on the side of the MP231. Next, I then used more zip ties to just make sure all the wiring was secured and nothing would hit the side of the drive shaft before then moving on to secure the front battery. The last thing I did was install a GoPro mount underneath my rear view mirror.
Okay guys, I've actually took a quick break, cleaned up the beard, mostly because off camera I was putting some old oil away. I dropped it and it splashed into my beard and I could not clean it. Like, I tried taking a shower, that didn't work. So, shorter beard. I'm really anxious right now. The brakes are gonna be funky from what I can tell. I haven't quite hooked up this whole vacuum pump thing correctly at all. And as far as I know, I will only have reverse and first gear. Manually shifting. Sorry about that. So all I'm gonna try to do is back it out of the shop, drive around the yard a little bit, and then drive it back into the shop. And if this thing moves under its own power, that's gonna be amazing. Now, I think the doubler's in high gear. I think the transfer case is in too high. I'm really guessing here. There's a lot of stuff that I'm not sure about. So, oh, and this is gonna be the test to see if I built the doubler correctly. This is gonna be the test to see if the transfer case works. And I've never seen if this transmission works. So, gonna be a whole lot of firsts right now. So, yeah, I'm gonna start it, then plug this in, because right now this pump will just turn on and off like crazy. And then, yeah, we're gonna go for a spin. Might help if I shut the hood. Just maybe. Okay. I forgot to move my shop light. Oh, this is so weird. Whoops. That's actually not bad. I gotta do it again. I said I was gonna go back to the shop, but I gotta do that again. I'll be honest, that diesel's got some pep. Oh man. It feels like there's engine braking in first gear. Okay. Oh, the power steering box is bad. I forgot about that. Okay, I gotta go move the shop light. I need to go unplug that pump. I need to just put that pump on a relay so it only... Yap. It works! I don't know. It drives. I've got high gear in the doubler. I know that's high gear in the transfer case, and I think that's 2-wheel drive. Reverse works, and first gear works. Yeah, I'm gonna go clean up because technically the day I'm filming it, today, is my birthday. So yeah, I'm gonna go clean up so I can go out for my birthday dinner. But yeah, this is amazing. Leave a comment down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. If you didn't, you know what to do. And hey, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. And if you have, as always, thank you so much. And I'll see you in the next video very soon. Goodbye.